All right, folks, let me call the meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled Greer City Council meeting called and convened this evening, November 8th, 2022. Having called the meeting to order, I would like to ask if you will join us for our invocation and pledge allegiance. We have with us this evening Boy Scout troops and looks like maybe a Cub Scout troop, Pack 241 and Troop 41. I would like to ask, it looks like Mr. Kramer is here with the Scouts this evening. And Mr. Kramer, I'd like to recognize our Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts tonight and would ask that y'all lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. And I think you can probably stand and do that where you are without needing to move. So if you would join me, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Led by Boy Scout Pack 241 and Troop 41, and then I will offer an invocation for council following that.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in prayer, if you will, please. Lord, we are indeed grateful and humbled by the many blessings that you have provided for us this day, a beautiful fall day. And let us be mindful of your creation and our responsibility to this environment and the place that you have put before us. We are thankful as well for the democratic process that we get to participate in on election day and the opportunity to express our opinion through a vote. Let us always be mindful of that wonderful opportunity and for the weight that it holds. We ask that you be with this council during this council meeting tonight, that you will give us insight, discernment, and understanding, and that we would, within your will, operate to the betterment of this community. Help us to be mindful of all of the citizens of this city and the role that they play. Help us be mindful of those that are unfortunately without enough food or shelter this evening as well too. We pray now for the rest of this meeting. We pray for travel mercies as those that have come this evening leave to go back home as well, and all these things we ask in your name. Amen. Folks, as you can tell, we have a full agenda this evening. We have got a number of presentations to make in addition to our regularly scheduled meeting. So we are going to take time as we go through this. After we do some recognitions, there may be some that want to step away. And we will make time to do that so that other parts of the meeting don't get disturbed or delayed. So we will move with regularity through this, but with the fact in mind that some of you are here after work. We've got some children that are with us and others, so we will be mindful of that as we move through the meeting this evening. We set aside a time at the first of each meeting for citizens to speak to items on the agenda. This is an opportunity for them to express opinions, either for or against items that may be relevant to us later on in the meeting. We ask that you be mindful of the time that you need to speak. We allow 3 minutes for this opportunity, and we ask that you come to the podium to make your comments so that we can record them. This evening, we only have one person that is asked to appear in public forum, and I am going to say Velret Ballou. If you would like to come to the podium this evening, if you will state your name and address for the record, the floor will be yours. that Ms. or Mr. Ballew, B-A-L-L-E-W?
Hi, I'm Mrs. Ballew. I live at 115 Sherwood Avenue, bottom of the hill. I'm a little nervous. I've never spoken in front of anybody, but I'm concerned about the condos because, of course, you probably heard this, the traffic. And we have a lot of elderly people that live there that like to walk, and I think that would interfere. And also the rain that washes down, because it's up on a hill and we have a hill that goes down to Sherwood. And also a lot of theft. There's been a lot of wrecks on Tryon. And why can't you do something like a nursing home or assisted living or something like that? It'd be a little more quieter, I would think. And if you do build, please call animal control or someone. That we have 2 turkeys living in those woods. Don't let them die. I know you love animals, but they go there every night. Now, one of the neighbors feed them in the evenings. But relocate them if you do that, you know. But just really concerned about the traffic and the wash down and all the trees. We know we have privacy there, and it's been always quiet. So we need something suitable like that. Well, maybe do another radio station. I hear you could make some money on that. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Council, contained in your packet this evening are the minutes from October the 25th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion that they be received.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we got several special recognitions this evening, and I can't think of anything more special to start this event off than to recognize Sergeant Jeff Smith as he prepares to retire. And I am going to ask Sergeant Smith if he would to come to the front of the room here. And if you'd like to ask your wife if she wants to join you, that's fine. I saw her come in, but if she wants to work. Well, I just happen to know that behind every successful man is a more successful woman. And I'm not alone in that category. And so I know Jeff has had the full support of his wife and his family as they have been active members of our community, and Jeff has served this community for quite some time. And I'm going to ask Mr. Merriman, if he would, to join us as well, too. This certificate of appreciation doesn't nearly do justice for what Jeff Smith has done for this city. Just caught me off guard, buddy. You know, I've been friends for a long time, and we will be friends. Nobody likes a good prank better than Jeff Smith, and I've been on both ends of those. This is a certificate of appreciation. It reads, "Congratulations on your retirement from the city of Greer. Presented in appreciation of 28 years of dedicated service for the city of Greer. January 20th, 1994 to November 18th, 2022. Presented to Jeff T. Smith, awarded in Greer, South Carolina, this 8th day of November 2022. Join me in a round of applause for Jeff Smith as we give him a certificate of appreciation on his impending retirement from the city of Greer. Wouldn't be complete if we didn't have a little gift for you, and so we want to present that to you. And you've never been at a loss for words, so I'll offer this to you if you would like.
It's been a great journey. All good things come to an end. I certainly appreciate what council, the mayor, Mr. Merriman, and all those that I've worked with have done for me and with me. It's been a great journey, and I miss it. I love the city of Greer, and I love its people. If I didn't, I wouldn't have served 28 years here. So it's been great.
And he's not going too far. His retirement is going to be short, from what I understand. You're going to be leaving us to start as Chief Director of Security at North Greenville University. So he'll just be up the road, and we'll get to see him. And are you still at the university? Did they ask you for a reference? No. You didn't put her down. Okay. Congratulations.
We can still talk. We can still do some practice.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Thank you all. Civics Academy. We have just completed a Civics Academy, and Ayla Fitzpatrick is going to join me for this presentation. The Greer Civics Academy was designed by our City Neighborhood Services group, and Ayla heads that as part of her duties in our communications department. And this was an opportunity for us to give residents an inside look at how the City of Greer operates. Andy and I were talking earlier this evening about the fact that we need more ambassadors because there are a lot of misunderstandings about the role and that the city plays and what we do in some regards. And as we continue to grow, we need to recruit those folks that have a better understanding of the role and the responsibility of the city and how a municipality in South Carolina operates. We think we've got one of the best models here, and we think that when people see how we do things and why we do things, it makes them not only a better citizen, but one that is able to share with others about how things work to smooth that process out. And so this 8-week course was offered for free to anybody that wanted to participate. Participants heard from leaders from various different departments of the city, and the goal for those that have taken this course is to be stewards of their own community as well as their broader community as well. and to share that better understanding of city services and functions. And so we want to recognize some of our graduates tonight from that first, or from this effort. And so if you want to join me, we've got some presentations to make. And if you would, if you'll come forward when I call your name, and if you will, you want to join us, Andy, stay up here. We want to make sure that we recognize you and get a picture as well, too. Allegra Bentley. Thank you for your time and interest. Carlos Bernard. Almost wasn't able to make it tonight. Amanda Braswell. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Danny Dill. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Tina Irby. Jeremy Shepard. Jeremy, we can get you to step right here on this side once you get. Thank you for your time, sir. Yes, sir. Claudette Thomas. Appreciate your time. And Kathleen Walsh. Folks, if you would give all these folks a big round of applause.
One, two, three. Hey, congrats, everyone.
All right, thank y'all. I got so many things going on tonight, I can't keep up with it. In that same vein, one of the things that we have found to be incredibly helpful is to help our development community better understand the process of the Greer Building and Codes and Development community, and certainly our departments. Because one of the things that we have found is that there is a process for the way that we do things, and that is partly by law and partly by design. But the better you understand the process, the quicker your project is going to go. And it helps eliminate some of the frustration sometimes from what may seem to be a very bureaucratic process, but one that the more you're familiar with it, the more it makes sense and the easier it becomes to navigate. And again, this is a learning curve, and we look to those folks that take the time to spend time in our development academy to share with others as well, too, the lessons that they learn. The academy was created to enhance the partnership between the city of Greer and our development community, and we've had anywhere from 28 to 38 attendees for these various academies. The academy consists of 5 weeks of foundational courses, which include the history of building activity in Greer, GIS, which is our information system, fire plan review, stormwater and engineering reviews, how to use our online e-track system for permits and license, building plan reviews and inspections. In the future, we're going to offer these courses probably in some format, maybe even as a fast-track learning type opportunity. But tonight we want to recognize the following folks that have participated in the Academy, and these are employees that have gone through and helped us with this opportunity. And so I want to recognize them, and again, if they'll stay with us up here for just a minute, we will recognize them at the end as well too. Chaparral Hilliard. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Okay. Oh. Let me recognize the employees that helped with this. We want to recognize them. They don't need to come to the front here. We are going to, since we've already kidnapped Chaparral, we're going to keep her up here. But we want to recognize Delora Johnson, Derek Lark, Scott Keeley, Sam Dobson, Brian Stevens, Ashley Cade, Claire Byers, Robert Rue, Steve Grant, and Ruthie Helms. Give them a big round of applause. Folks, these people not only do their job during the day, and that starts very early in the morning and runs through the afternoon, but they make time to do these classes in the evening as well too. So it's an effort on their part as well too. I know that we're not going to get her up here, but I do want to recognize Ruthie Helms, who is over our Building Development Standards Department, does a yeoman's task, and is over probably one of the steadiest or the busiest groups of folks that I just named many of a minute ago. We have issued over 1,000 home permits over the last several years, and there's no way to tell you how much time and effort it takes to keep that moving and to keep all those inspections lined up to make sure that we're able to keep up with what the builders and the developers are doing, and these folks bend over backwards to make that happen. So with that, let me reset here, and now we'll recognize our graduates. Fulton Garner. He's with Evans General Contractors. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Grant Bishop, Collegiate Sign Company. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. David Bishop, Snow Hut. Jacob Horn with Alliance Consulting Engineers. Thank you. Appreciate it. Courtney Brooks, Alliance Consulting Engineers. Thank you. Appreciate it. Chris Marshall, Weaver Cook. Thank you, sir. That starts the line over here on the other side. Catherine Zendorf with Weaver Cook. Clay Weiser, we've cooked. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Brian Cotton, we've cooked. We've cooked. David Langley, Langley and Associates Architects. David, thank you. Appreciate all you do. Grigus Mickle. Ann Moran, Langley Associates. Thank you. Jessica Schultz, Langley and Associates. Thank you. Mashana Sullivan, Sullivans. James Compton, Davis and Floyd. Thank you. Appreciate it. Andrew Ackerley, Davis and Floyd. Thank you. Appreciate it. Brian Moss, Apex Development. Ron Safford, Bedrock Construction and Site Kings. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Give these folks a big round of applause.
You want to squeeze in as best we can? Best we
Yeah,
can.
well, I don't know.
Maybe bring some.
Yeah, bring some.
Here.
Bring some to the front. Yeah.
Chaparral, don't go anywhere.
I'm trying. We still
Ah,
have
yeah.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Thank you.
There you go. We really need to do that. Yes.
Let me personally thank all of our, I got one more proclamation to do, and I will do it from here because I think we don't have anybody to receive this one tonight, do we? So let me offer this proclamation, if I might. This is a proclamation offered by the Greer City Council declaring November the 17th, 2022 as World Pancreatic Cancer Day. It reads as such: whereas in 2022 an estimated 62,000 people will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in the United States and 830 will die from the disease. Pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest forms of cancer and is currently the third leading cause of cancer death in the United States and is projected to become the second leading cause by 2030. Whereas pancreatic cancer is the only major cancer with a 5-year relative survival rate at just 11%. When symptoms of pancreatic cancer present themselves, it is generally in a later stage. 91% of pancreatic cancer patients die within the first 5 years. Approximately 880 deaths will occur in South Carolina in 2022 related to pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer is the 7th most common cause of cancer-related death in the world. And whereas an estimated 418,000 new pancreatic cancer cases are diagnosed worldwide in 2020, the good health and well-being of the residents of City and Greer are enhanced as a direct result of increased awareness about pancreatic cancer and research into early detection, causes and effective treatment. Now therefore be it resolved, Mayor Danner and the Greer City Council designate November the 17th as World Pancreatic Cancer Day in the city of Greer. If I may, let me just revisit quickly the importance of recognizing the last two groups of people that were before us this evening. As I mentioned about our staff taking time out of their day and staying longer to make sure these academies happen, you saw the commitment on 25 plus people this evening that had worked all day in a regular job and then came here and gave time to us to help inform them about our process and procedures. And I think that speaks volumes about how important these classes and opportunities are, both for us to share with you and for you to share with us. And that's one of the things that the Development Academy was created for, was the kind of dialogue that we need to improve our processes and to make things work better for you. Because while we have our way of doing things, we understand that you are in the field and you are the boots on the ground, and sometimes there are quicker, possibly more efficient and better ways of doing things, and we are always open to those kinds of discussions. But it also gives us an opportunity to share, as I mentioned earlier, that sometimes it feels a bit overwhelming to have to come to a building like this and secure a permit, or to talk about a new project, a new building project or an infrastructure project, and get that list of things that you're going to need to be able to do that inside the city. And it can be overwhelming sometimes, and that's where our staff realized an opportunity to be able to share with our development community. And this has been a great resource for both us and those in the city. And as one gentleman shared with me this evening about the Citizens Academy, from top to bottom, we've got one of the finest groups of employees that I think can be assembled. And you know, there's close to we're 350 plus, close to 400 in terms of employees. That's a large organization. But I will say this: I don't know the name of all 400 people here, but if they stay around very long, I will. And you can see from what happened this evening that I have known some of these people for the past 22, 23 years, and in some cases even much longer than that, through my association with them in this community. And this is a great place to work, and it is family to a lot of us. And it's what makes this town so special is those kinds of relationships. And it also makes things work a lot better for us. We had a little situation this afternoon that Miss Duncan helped handle in two quick calls, one to the police chief and one to me. Both of us had returned calls to her in just a matter of minutes in one case, and I will tip my hat to the chief that already had the problem solved by the time I was able to reach her on the phone. And that's the kind of public service that we want to offer. And while that may be a little different, a little unusual in some cases, it's the bar that we set for our employees and for this community. And we want to be recognized for that, and I think we are, and we appreciate your efforts to help us in that regard. And so if you get an opportunity to participate in the Civics Academy, I would urge you to do so. If you are a developer, builder, or have a relationship with that process, please let your cohorts know that this is available, because it's a great program, and one that I would urge you to find people to get involved with it. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Mr. Merriman for our city administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. And I think before everybody likes to jet out after these things, there are a couple announcements I want to make sure that everybody hears. Two real quick ones. One, there is a public meeting specifically targeted at the Wards Creek Trail project that the city is undertaking. A lot of the residents that would be affected by the proposed trail have been contacted via a letter from Keck and Wood, our consulting engineers. But tomorrow night here in City Hall from 5:30 to 6:30, we are having a public meeting to discuss the Wards Creek Trail and the proposed system that would connect numerous residential areas to city parks, schools, commercial development in our downtown. There's also going to be another public hearing, or public meeting, pardon, on November 16th, which would be next Wednesday. Is that right? Next Wednesday, yes. Here in City Hall from 5 to 7, and this is to meet with city officials and consultants with Kimley Horn to discuss the road diet proposed for West Poinsett Street between North Main and Middleton. There will be project displays for review and discussion pertaining to the proposed road diet. The city and SCDOT will accept written comments accepted at this public meeting and via email through December 17th. Reminder that the Greer Police Cops for Tots program is underway. Applications for the program are available in the Greer Police Department lobby during business hours, and we will accept those applications through November 18th. Congratulations to the Greer High School Yellow Jackets winning their first Golden Spike Award in the Battle of Greer between Greer and Riverside High School on October 28th. It certainly was a game to remember. A 1-point win in overtime is the best way to start a rekindle a rivalry, certainly that I can think of. Loose leaf collection. If you've got leaves in your yard, and I can't imagine there's many people that do not, loose leaf collection is underway for the city of Greer now through February 13th. And you can find information as to when you can expect leaf pickup in your neighborhood at cityofgreer.org, where you'll find a calendar and maps to identify your neighborhood's assigned dates. And a couple real quick other events. The Greer Farmers Market continues on the 15th with Foodie Fest. Starts between 4:30 and runs from 4:30 to 7:30. Reminder that the Greer City offices will be closed Thursday, November 24th and the 25th in observance of Thanksgiving. Let's see. Christmas tree lighting, Friday, December 2nd at Greer City Park. Festivities begin at 5. The Greer Christmas Parade will be on December 4th. The year's theme is a Toyland Christmas, and this, of course, always goes to benefit Greer Relief. And the Holiday Arts Fair is scheduled from December 10th, or scheduled for Saturday, December 10th at the Greer Center for the Arts, free admissions. Everything that I just outlined tonight can be found at the cityofgreer.org website. And if you have any questions, feel free to call, and we will get you the answers that you need. Mr. Mayor, unless there's any questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Council, let's stay where we are and take a little break. How about that? Let people that want to leave take that opportunity.
Next Wednesday is 5. Yeah, the road diet, yeah. That one.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good evening. Things were running pretty smooth, but we elected to give out one of our certificates of achievement, and that's an oversight on our part. I'm going to ask Miles Mason, if you would, come up. Miles is with Langston Black Real Estate, and lives down in the Apple Creek area, and has been active in the city since I came on as mayor. So thank you for all that you do for the city. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
We just seen if he's paying attention.
Council, in terms of appointments for boards and commissions, we have had an opening on the Housing Authority that was coming up, and we have now a recommendation for someone to fill that term. I'm going to ask council if we might hold this over. Certainly, the nominee is well known to our community, a local pastor, and would do a excellent job. There is a question in regards to residency. He does not live inside of the city, and I think by ordinance that is going to be defined. We need to clarify that before we move forward. I would like to ask someone if they would to make a motion that the nomination for the Housing Authority for the City of Greer Board of Commissioners be held over until we have time to clarify that situation.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion in that regard? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Earwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, let's move then to items of old business, of which you have two before you this evening. One is the second and final reading of ordinance number 66-2022. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of a portion of property owned by James Duckett located on North Line Street Extension from RM1, which is residential multifamily, to R5, garden court or patio home. Ms. Cotty joins us this evening. Ms. Cotty, any new or additional information in regards to the second and final reading of ordinance number 66-2022?
No, sir.
No new information in regards to ordinance 66-2022. For the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. The floor is open for discussion. Comments? Questions? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Earwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we have the second and final reading of ordinance number 67-2022. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of a certain property owned by MC2 Development LLC located at 305 North Tryon Street Extension from RM1 to DRD, which is a design review district. In regards to ordinance number 67-2022, Ms. Cotty, any new or additional information in that regard?
Yes, Mayor. At the request of council, the developers and the engineers did a review of the site plan and statement of intent, and they did provide an updated copy of those. Those were exhibits D and E, and those were included in your packets. As a reminder, this is the property located at 305 Tryon Street. That's on the screen, 6.55 acres. It is currently zoned RM1. The future land use is for traditional neighborhood. This is a street view. And then this is the updated site plan. The site plan did not have a lot of updates, just some clarification on the landscaping buffer along the roadways. The biggest changes happened with the statement of intent. They did, again, update a lot of the language that was in here, clarifying the common space was going to be open space, open areas, and then they did take another look at the stormwater pond as requested. And so they have updated it to be a fenced dry pond. And those are the two biggest updates. They also included some pictures, an additional language kind of explaining the common lawn areas and the landscaping that would be at the entrance and along the roadways. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and the developer and engineer are also here to answer questions that you may have.
By show of hand, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? All right, and your engineer? Thank you. If y'all will make your way over here, I feel free that it's probably in your best interest to come on over. I'm sure that council is going to have some questions in regards to the project, and we will want to hear from you at some point. For the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive. And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion. Gentlemen, do you want to give us an overview maybe of where we potentially left off last time in some terms of some more information that might be helpful for this council to make a decision? I know we've got the statement of intent and we've had an opportunity to read that, but I think that it would be in council's best interest and possibly yours as well too, to give us an update on where y'all are with the project.
Okay, I'm Colin Sikala, and I'm the other owner of MC2. And so we're just here to kind of clarify. First of all, I just appreciate the grace. This is we're kind of new to this whole program. So as far as statement of intent and doing all that stuff, we had a bunch of stuff in there that was obviously questioned and so on. So we kind of went through and basically, there was a lot of redundancy and stuff in there that we kind of cut out. And,
Can you speak louder? We can't hear.
Okay. Sorry. So we just kind of clarified our letter of intent and just cut out a lot of stuff that was repeated and stuff like that. And there's obviously some questions that people have had that we thought is going to be part of the civil design, or it would come. Obviously, this is a zoning hearing or whatever, and so we're looking for the zoning, obviously, once we get the zoning. And again, if there's questions, there was questions about the pond and buffers and different things like that. So if you have any questions that you need ironed out as far as that's concerned, I'd be happy to answer that.
Okay, if y'all will have a seat there at the front row, then we will continue our conversation with Ms. Gotti. Council, floor is open for discussion.
I see that one of the concerns by one of the folks, our last meeting, and just now, earlier, the Ms. Ballou, was that her, I believe his name, was concerned about runoff. Can you, Ms. Cotty, tell the public, or I can, it doesn't matter, I just like to make this clear that when there is development and you have the runoff from that development cannot be greater after the development is complete than it was prior to the development. So it's supposed to be retained and then let out slowly in the retention pond. That leads to another question about that another resident in that area had about the maintenance of the stormwater pond, and I see that it would be owned and maintained by the HOA.
Yes, sir.
Who will own the HOA prior to build out? Do we know that?
So typically the covenants get recorded with the final plat establishing that HOA. So until that point, it would be incumbent upon the developer And they do put up a stormwater bond as part of the civil plan review process. And I may have to lean on our stormwater engineer, Robert Rue, who's also luckily in the audience tonight.
Robert, could you expound on what would?
Yeah, so as part of the plan review process, as Ashley said, an issuance of a grading permit will require stormwater bond to be put up, which covers erosion and sediment controls and sediment basin detention pond components. So that bond's not released until site's usually almost built out and that grading permit's closed out. And as part of that, we inspect the site, make sure everything's grassed everywhere, make sure the pond's in good shape, make them survey the pond, and make them certify that it was built per the plans and design and calculations. So the pond's handed over in good shape to the HOA, and then as part of post-construction, we have regulations and ordinance that cover post-construction inspection requirements, maintaining the pond and keeping the pond in good shape.
So we, as the city, go back once the development is complete. Folks have moved in, they've established a HOA, and then as time progresses, we as a city go by and inspect the pond to make sure it is in the proper shape it's supposed to be in. Is that correct?
That's correct. And also per our ordinance, pond owners are required to submit inspection reports yearly to my office. So,
Okay. And if the pond does not meet the requirements that we set forth, then the HOA then is responsible for putting it back into that shape.
that's correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Others? I think one of the things that is important to note in this discussion, and we've talked about this on several different occasions, and I don't remember if it came up in our first discussion in regards to this ordinance, but as we were reminded by one of the developers this evening, this comes before us as a zoning issue. This land is in a zone that allows for residential multifamily and certainly could be used in that regard. Without some of the review that we're going to do by bringing it to council as a DRD, which is a design review district, which gives us certainly staff more leeway in the design of the project, as well as overview by council that has some design standards both in writing and through an agreement. It is not our intent or place to say what goes on these pieces of property. That is for the owner of the property to request a change in the zoning, and then for us to agree or disagree with that request. And so this comes to us as a request. We typically see the DRD, Design Review District, as a reasonable alternative, particularly in regards to residential multifamily, because of the additional oversight. And so that hopefully will clear up some expectation that we direct development. We certainly are in the business of trying to recruit industry and commercial for the areas that are designated that way, but it is the responsibility of the owner of the property to find a use that fits the zoning of the property, and then that zoning change would come before us for review. Others, comments, questions, discussion?
One other item I'd just like to, if folks are following along on the electronic agenda and they open it up, and then there are sample photos of a product that they're proposing. One of the things that is different that we require, what they're showing is buildings constructed or finished with vinyl vinyl finishes on the exterior where that will not be, in this particular case, it'll be a hardy board or cementitious type product with stone or rock or something like that, so.
Mayor, your point is well made and helpful for all of us to be reminded of. I would ask, just a matter of clarification question. I see in the statement of intent some of the pictures that are used. Some of the driveways are double wide, which I like seeing that. Is that the intention for there to be at least, how many parking spaces per unit?
They are required to have at least 2 per unit, so that may be with a garage or it may be with driveway spaces. The pictures that are in there are primarily to describe the landscaping, streetscaping, and roadside buffer. So not necessarily the driveway or the building materials, as you mentioned. The building materials are called out separately.
That's one of the biggest things that I've been seeing from folks talking about with the townhome products that have been coming our way. I think they're good products that the market is asking for, but just making sure there's enough off-street parking per unit. I know we may be addressing that in the UDO process as well. Gentlemen, do you have any clarification that way? Have you thought that far ahead in any firm terms, what that looks like?
Well, so it's my understanding that it's required that there's at least 2 parking, whether that's 1 garage space and 1 parking space outside. So I would say that we're going to meet that requirement at the very least. And I think we discussed making the driveways, wider so that there's, like I say, at least like 16 feet in front of the house where you could have 2 parking spots. So either way, we're going to comply with the 2 parking spots off-street, so.
Appreciate that. I think it would really enhance the project, having the 2 wide driveway that way in addition to the garage that way. Appreciate you indulging that.
Yep.
Have a motion and a second. Others? Questions? Comments? Discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, let's move to items of new business. The first of which is a funding approval for the Operations Center roof repair. You've got the description of the work contained there in your packet this evening. I know that John Goodall is joining us this evening, and I think Mr. Merriman has some additional information as well. Mr. Goodall, if you will give us just a minute, there are those that would like to leave, and we'll give them that opportunity, sir. Floor is yours.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. As the Mayor had said, we've got on the dock tonight, last winter we had a major snow event, and the roof over at the Operations Center deflected. And apparently was not the first time. It has happened in the past, but it has gotten to a point where with each new event, major snow event, the structural integrity is becoming worse and worse. So at that point, we had evacuated, had it structurally checked out by Fuller Structural. They came back and their recommendation, they had given us 2 options. The least impactful was to come in and put a beam across, which is going to require tearing into an existing wall that runs down the length of that added on section of the building, and so a lot of columns that then they'll replace the wall structure around the columns so that you won't know that this was done, but it's going to be somewhat impactful. But we also, during this, we thought we'd take advantage of, since the construction's going on, there's also some walls that we're going to add to create 2 new office spaces within this scope of work. This also, with this opportunity, we're going to try, with your approval, a new procurement method where we do, with a project this size, it lends itself to this type of procurement, job order contracting. We've never used it before. It's been around a while. It would maybe help us out in the future with some of these projects, but the lower amounts with getting the sole bidder problem that we have. This would be a solution to that, or another tool for us to use in the event that we have those situations. So what I did was had Gordian come up. They are one of the key creators of this type of procurement method, and they have put together their proposal. It's $102,231. They get this number through a line item type of situation. So they've got a set cost for a door jamb. They've got a set cost for painting so many linear foot of wall. All those costs are accounted for in their line item situation. So that together, once they've done all the subs did their quoting, came up to $102,000, which I feel is a good number for that, for all that they're going to have to do within that structure to get us that roof back to a safe condition.
Do you want to speak before we open, or
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just very simply, we're seeking approval of this with the understanding that this is outside of our normal procurement process. This was competitively bid. The difference is, and I like to use the example of like the Houston-Galveston co-op agreement that we have, where local governments from across the nation can buy things like fire trucks, or they can buy things like public works equipment, things of that nature that have been competitively bid and then co-opted through the Houston-Galveston contract. This is very similar in scope, except Gordian in and of itself is not a public entity. They are a private entity. However, this was competitively bid. The problem is it's a $102,000 project. For some folks, it's a big project. For some folks, it's a small project. The problem is getting folks to do this kind of work at $102,000 could find us in a position where either we do have a sole bidder or we have no bidder. In the meantime, the roof is not getting replaced, and it's outside of our wheelhouse to do it internally. So we rely on an organization like Gordian in this particular case to bring us this procurement method by which we can ensure, one, pricing that it's been competitively bid, two, that we can ensure the work's been done, and those smaller contractors will work with them to help deliver the product. So it's a little bit different, still competitively bid. Staff, of course, John is confident, I'm confident that it'll deliver a good work product for us and get us squared away over the operations center.
Council, before we go any further, let's go ahead and, for the purpose of discussion and questions of Mr. Guggenhauer or the administrator, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second. Floor is open for discussion.
Okay, explain to me again, you've got Gordian, who is the developer of the procurement process.
Yes, sir.
And then you've got Johnson Lux as a general contractor. So who put the estimate together?
Johnson Lux, then, it's really, our contract would be with Johnson Lux.
Okay.
Gordian, they are just the group that,
They bring us together.
Yeah, they bring us together.
They're matchmakers, if that's the best way to put it.
Okay, who will be the contractor of record if?
Lux.
Yeah.
Lux will, Johnson Lux, yes, sir.
So part of the 102 is Gordian's got a part of that.
Yes, sir.
And then Johnson Lux, the GC, they've got their fee built in. And 102,000 in today's, that's not a lot. I mean, it's, so how was the GC selected?
they have a contract with Gordian to be utilized, and I can fall back on our representative here, Brian, with Gordian. Exactly how does Johnson Lux come into the picture?
Sure, well, actually, I'd be happy
explain that for you.
Could you identify yourself, please, sir, for the
Yes,
matter
sir.
of record?
Brian Grayson, the Gordian. So yes, how this works, and Andy hit the nail on the head earlier. This is just another, basically a cooperative option. You can, instead of buying equipment or materials, you're buying construction services through this. So we are just the administrators of the contract. The contract is actually held through Dorchester County within the state, so they're the entity, and we're just, as Andy put, we're just the administrator that brings everyone together. So this contract utilizes a fixed pricing method that we call a construction task catalog that has over 375,000 fixed pricing line items that would cover all divisions and trades of construction. So this contract has been competitively bid out just like in a normal RFP process. It was advertised, we did pre-bid meetings, or I should say Dorchester did. Again, we worked with them to utilize that. And then it was bid out to these general contractors. The GCs apply what's called an adjustment factor, which would be their markup for their services or their costs for overhead. And then they submit the proposal back to Dorchester. And it was awarded to, there's currently 5 GCs listed on the contract, Johnson Locks being one of them. And what allows municipalities to do throughout the state, because it has a cooperative purchasing aspect to it, they can select one of the GCs from that list, in this case, Johnson Locks being that GC. They can select them to discuss the work that needs to be done. So it just creates a much more collaborative approach to these projects, as John mentioned, as opposed to just having to put together a scope and putting out to bid. You can collaborate, because with this type of project, there's a lot of options as far as what you want to do with the work there. So it just it creates a much more collaborative and non-adversarial relationship between the owner and the general contractor. And then Gordian, as he mentioned before, just kind of brings everybody together as kind of an objective third party to administrate the work there.
So you mentioned Dorchester. You're talking about Dorchester County?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
They own the co-op? Is that how that?
So no, they partner with a cooperative known as Aqualis, and they bid it out. And then because it has a cooperative purchasing aspect, you can utilize that contract through them to select one of the GCs. So in addition to working with Dorchester, they have bid on different regions of the state to cover through this contract. So that's how you municipalities like yourself can access these GCs through the program.
And right now, it's an open contract, so there will be other contractors that will bid to be participating in this. And that's actually open right now. So even local contractors have the option to bid into that contract, if I understand.
That's correct, yes. Anyone licensed within the state.
Okay, so that's confusing me now. We've already selected Johnson Lux.
I'm sorry. No, John, when John's talking about other contractors having the option, he's talking about the program in general. So we're not talking about, this isn't a project-specific comment John was making. He's making more of a comment about how the whole program works. Okay. And it's a statewide cooperative pool.
Going forward, if there were a large contractor in this area that wanted to participate in this program, then that's an okay.
Okay.
What does JOC stand for?
Job order contracting.
Oh, okay. All right. So how do we handle like change order items, project overruns, or is that?
Great question. Well, again, with this coming up front, this upfront process, this should help significantly reduce change orders because, again, the contractor's not just trying to submit a low bid to win the bid. They're trying to actually collaborate to come up with something that's going to work within the scope, fit within budget. And if you do have to have a change order, obviously, there's still possibility of a supplemental or a change order. Through the process, they have to justify that actually happens. They can't just add it to the proposal. Everything that, anything that they add on has to be signed off by the owner, that being the city of Greer in this case, to move forward with the project.
And there's no ambiguity in pricing either, because it falls within that 375,000 different line items that have been already priced and agreed to. So when Johnson Lux in this particular case knows what they're getting into when they agree to this contract, and if they have to change order us for faucets, they can't just arbitrarily come up with a faucet number that we hope is accurate. We go down the list, that's the faucet number, and they agreed to it, we agreed to it, and there's no surprises.
But theoretically, JOC, you guys You guys put together the scope, is that right?
The contractor collaborates with John or the city and him and his team to come up with the scope. John approves it, and then they put together the price proposal based around the approved scope of work.
Okay, so who decided to put in the beam in the column?
That was through Fuller Structural.
Okay,
They're the ones that came in, gave us the analysis, told us exactly what needed to be done to make that a safe condition. So they gave us the drawings, they drew it up, we paid for that separate.
Okay.
That's, design fees have already been put out on that. Then this, after that was conducted, then that's when we come back and we spelled out exactly what we wanted. We know that we're gonna impact certain areas of the floor because we're gonna put columns there. So the flooring, we're justified in putting some flooring there.
Right.
And all that, and I put all that together.
okay,
And then that was handed over to Johnson Lux, who then went out and solicited subcontractors to come in and give their quotes and say that they could do that for the line item price.
okay. And so when they looked at your scope, they were there any kind of, well, you need to do this instead of, this is gonna.
No, they're going by pretty much exactly as we wrote it. This is what we need done. Can you do it for the cost that they've stipulated that it has to be done at?
Okay, and so I guess then, if there's something that was missed, that's our bad.
Yes, sir. Well, there's unknowns that we can't anticipate.
Yeah, right,
right.
right.
But beyond that, or if we wanted to make a change
Yeah.
somewhere along the line.
Okay, all right.
Others? Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Comments? Questions?
Now, you mentioned they'll be using subs. Do we get a list of those subs? Like, if somebody shows up and they're not the sub they mentioned, does that matter or?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally, yes, sir, I can get you a list of.
I'm just
subs that's
wondering
listed.
if they have to use the subs that they said they would use, or if they have leeway there.
They're locked in at this point. I don't know that there's any way out of it because they've given us the quote and there's no, they now have to perform that work.
But in this particular case, if a sub cannot perform for whatever reason, they can't change the pricing on it because that's what's locked in.
Yeah. Now, if they're not performing, we could then go back and ask for a different sub. That doesn't change.
Others? Comments? Questions? Discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mayor, I did not hear the second on this.
It was me,
Okay, thank you,
Mr. Hopper?
thank you.
soft-spoken.
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, let's move to the second item before us this evening, the first and final reading of Resolution Number 20-2022. This is a resolution to accept Sutton Farms Phase 1, Phase 1A, Phase 2D subdivision streets, namely Yellow Fox Road, Chippy Road, Preservation Drive, Sutton Farms Drive, Planters Place, into the City of Greer street system. Mr. Brew, you join us for that conversation.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Before you tonight, as the mayor said, I got Sutton Farms Phases 1, 1A, and 2D streets. You can see on your screen there, current street view of Sutton Farms. And then this display, the green lines there are the roads in question tonight. The red lines were accepted by this council back in July of this year. So Sutton Farms started in the development started in November of 2018. It's located off Suber Road and Highway 14 in Council District 6. All utilities are in, streets are paved, and it's completely built out at 353 total units. Staff has inspected the construction of these streets and believes it meets city standards. Therefore, we recommend Yellow Fox Road with a length of 2,793 feet, Chippy Road with a length of 540 feet, Preservation Drive with a length of 1,100 feet, Sutton Farms Drive with a length of 810 feet, in Planter's Place with a length of 1,100 feet be accepted into the city street system for ownership and maintenance. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council comes with a recommendation of staff. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments?
I guess everything looks kosher.
All's good out there. Yeah, so process-wise, obviously they build the roads and then we conduct an inspection, make sure any necessary repairs are made, and then re-inspect, make sure everything's good, and then I bring them before you to be accepted.
Others? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, item 3, first reading of ordinance number 65-2022, an ordinance to provide for the annexation of certain properties owned by Alan Stein located on East Gap Creek Road by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification for DRD. Ms. Cotty joins us for that conversation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, again, this is 2 parcels adjacent to the school. You saw a larger annexation request about 1.5 years ago that ended up not going through. Some of those parcels have since been subdivided and developed in the county. But this is for 2 parcels that are approximately 24 acres. They are asking for a DRD zoning for up to 90 townhomes. So again, single family attached. This is located along East Gap Creek Road. The current zoning map, the adjacent property is RS, residential suburban, but again, that is the school property. Typically, schools and city projects like our Greer golf course are zoned either RS or R20. Future land use map calls for a suburban neighborhood. This is a current street view of the site. And then this is the proposed site plan that goes along with the DRD zoning. Again, this is for up to 90 units of townhomes. There is open space throughout, and then there is proposed amenities of a dog park and fire pit area in the rear. This does follow the typical DRD building material requirements, so hardy board, no vinyl, having accents on the facades, and pretty much all of our standard setbacks. They do also include residential buffers between, let me go back to the site plan, sorry. They do, the hatched area that you see is a 25-foot buffer. The DRD ordinance only requires a setback, but based on council direction, we have asked for additional buffering between residential uses. They're also required to do that for any non-residential, which would be the school use. They have performed a traffic impact study and will be required to do a westbound turn lane into the site from East Gap Creek Road. And then they'll also be doing exterior sidewalks along the whole frontage, including the 1 parcel that's not in the jurisdiction. They'll be doing that in the right-of-way to connect to the school property. This project did go to PAC on October 27th, and they did incorporate comments from various staff into the site plan. And that is all I really have, but I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
By show of hand, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? So noted. Are you available for questions if they arise? Yes. Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to receive for the purpose of discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion.
At the PAC meeting, was there members or a representative from the school board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Limbaker from the school district was on the call.
No issues?
No, so we did talk about there is a proposed connection potentially really at that first group of townhomes. There's a proposed pedestrian connection if the school district is amenable, and they were open to those conversations. And then also, Skip just mentioned again that once you make a pedestrian connection, then the school will then follow suit and provide sidewalk. So where there's not sidewalk along East Gap Creek Road, once the sidewalk would go in place, they would install sidewalk to connect to the school. So they have had conversations with the school district about those two connections, and that will be worked out before civil plans are approved. I believe they've spoken to them about an easement for sanitary sewer as well, but I would maybe lean on the developer to elaborate on that.
Does any of this property reach or touch the floodplain there behind it?
I believe it is just south, so no. So our property, the city of Greer, open space and the trail is right at the southern tip, kind of behind it.
That's our property?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it wraps kind of behind the school. So let me show you on this. So this piece here that comes out from East Gap Creek and then wraps all the way around to the southern tip, that's City of Greer, and that'll be used for the part of the trail system. Mm-hmm. And the other pieces are part of the school property.
Sir, do you mind coming forward?
No, I don't mind at all.
For the matter of the record, will you state your name and address, please?
Yes, sir. Chad Carson at 22 Garlington in Greenville.
Council, questions of owner-developer? Apparently not.
Can you go back to the site plan?
Yes, sir.
What is the top left corner showing shrubs, I guess, around something that looks square?
Yes, sir. A residential house up there.
Okay, so that's existing?
It is, yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right.
And what you don't see on this is we do have some topography challenges, so that's why you've got them kind of lined up like that. So we are going to try to work on connectability as much as possible, working around the topography. So it does kind of go down a little bit. You may be more familiar or just as familiar, but that's why we've got them in kind of rows like that to deal with that challenge.
Others?
On the buffer that you guys are putting in?
Yes, sir.
Is it going to be a landscape somehow, or?
We're thinking a natural buffer at this point. With all the trees that are still there, we'd like for it to be a natural buffer, but where needed, we're certainly open to a landscape buffer.
Now, you said there will be a turn lane from the west end. Is that what you're saying, Ashley?
Yes, sir. So westbound on East Gap Creek, turning into the site.
Okay. How does that affect their emergency access? You think do we anticipate anything there? See that?
No, our fire marshal did review it during PAC, and I don't believe he had any substantive comments.
Yeah, nothing that we were aware of.
No amenity center this time?
So we do have some amenities that we're trying to work in there. Again, we mentioned some small ones. We are really trying to work on it kind of at the bottom. Again, what you don't see is the lines on there, the topography challenges, but we are really trying to see. We reached out to Duke Power where they've got an easement there. They are not willing to relinquish that easement just yet. That was our hope, to be able to do something up there, and we still might be able to, but while I don't have anything on paper right now, we are still working on that more than what we put on the statement of intent. I just hadn't found the room for it just yet, but we are still working on it.
Duke's easement, that's just for, they've got towers out there? Is that
They
what it
do,
is?
yes, sir.
But they still allow certain things in those easements, right?
Correct. So we've had the conversation to see if they would abandon it, but they said not yet. Even though they're not using it right now, they may in the future. So we're kind of going down the road, okay, so you guys don't want to abandon it, it's fine. What can we put under that easement, if anything?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Others? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Questions? Comments? Additional discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, let's move to item 4, first reading of ordinance number 68-2022, an ordinance to provide for the annexation of a certain property owned by the city of Greer located at 137 Rogers Circle by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification of OD for said property. Ms. Cotty?
Sure, and thank you, Mayor and Council. The next 3 annexations are all city-owned property, so bringing our assets into the city. This one is the fire station property that is located on Highway 14. It does have a Rogers Circle address, which is the back of it. So I'm a little surprised they have that address, but they do. So it is currently, again, unzoned in the county. We are proposing OD office district as it is adjacent to mixed employment, and a fire station or institutional use is appropriate in that zoning district. And this is a current street view of the property. Again, this is was a current fire station and will be continued use as a fire station for the city of Greer. Happy to answer any questions you may have, or I may have to put Mr. Merriman on the hot seat.
With that, then, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion. Comments?
Of course, it's fine. But I would suggest that we work in conjunction with CPW and put a street light out there. It's really dark. There's no lighting.
Yes, sir.
Others? We had the opportunity to meet with their commissioners and some other chiefs from the area, and our staff and some of theirs. We made a presentation to Chief Jolly that evening and got to meet our neighbors out there as well too. Some delightful folks that are glad to have that building occupied again. Any other discussion in this regard? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. First reading of ordinance number 69-2022. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of a certain property owned by the city of Greer located on Country Club Road by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification of R20 for said property. Ms. Cotty?
Sure, thank you. Again, this is cleanup, and I am not certain why, but the next 2 cases are both parcels that were part of the purchase 2 years ago and should have been annexed with the original properties, but were inadvertently left off the annexation ordinances. So this is a 7.895 acre property that is adjacent, again, to Country Club Road and will be combined and part of the kind of golf course open space property that the city has. We are proposing R20 single-family residential, which is the same as the rest of the golf course open space property, and it is adjacent to suburban neighborhood, and this is kind of current street view. Happy to answer any questions.
Because of the recommendation, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Floor is open for discussion. Comments? Questions? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, first reading of ordinance number 70-2022. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of a certain property owned by the city of Greer located on Palmetto Drive by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification of R20 for said property. Ms. Cotty?
Thank you. This small parcel is a lot that was part of an established subdivision. It's always been vacant, and my understanding is it has easements for our water access to the golf course properties, again on Palmetto Drive. We are also, again, proposing R20 single-family residential, similar to the rest of the golf course open space area. And again, just bringing a Greer, a city-owned property into our municipal limits. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Comes with a recommendation from staff. I'll entertain a motion for the purpose of discussion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion. Comments?
We've done a lot of cleanup of unzoned property. County, did you notice that?
Yeah.
There's that zoning.
Yeah. Discussion. Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, the first reading of ordinance number 71-2022. This is an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a development agreement by and between the city of Greer, South Carolina, and the Vine Group LLC or its assigns with respect to capital improvement in the city of Greer and other matters related thereto. Ms. Cotty?
Thank you. This is a development agreement that is related to the ordinance we heard earlier tonight for the proposed townhome community on East Gap Creek Road. So that fee would be for annexation. It would be based on the townhome unit price, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. It's our standard annexation template prepared by the city attorney.
By show of hands, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? So noted. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for the purpose of discussion. And a second.
Second.
Ooh. Duke it out.
Floor is open for discussion. Comments? Questions? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, first reading of ordinance number 72-2022. This is an ordinance to redistrict the 6 single-member election districts for the election of city council members based upon the 2020 decennial census. For the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, the change made to my district, I believe, is actually not in compliance with the normal goal of keeping neighborhoods of similarity together. And I would request, and I'll be glad to furnish the questions that I have in the area that I question. I would request that we go back to the people who composed this and see if that's indeed the only way it can be done.
So noted. Others?
So we would do that before we hold second reading.
Try to, yes.
If we're able to.
We certainly will need to check with them since we've only got 2 more meetings in this year. We'll need to work around that, but if necessary, we could hold a special meeting if it required it, but we would like to do it within the framework we've already got set if we can.
Are we, I know time, we're held to time, but so end of this year is our deadline? Okay.
And just for information, I'm not gonna hold it up. If they're not able to do it, I'm not gonna hold it up. I would just request that they go back and take another look at it. I can live with it as it is, but it just doesn't seem the best way to do it to me.
Can changes be made between first and second?
Yes, changes can be made, yes, sir.
So we could vote in the affirmative to keep it moving,
Yes, sir.
make the changes, come back for second reading.
Yes, sir.
Other questions in that regard? Additional discussion in that regard?
That's all I got.
Comments regarding this discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
No.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, the last item before us in regular session this evening is the approval of the 2023 council meeting calendar. Ms. Duncan has provided that for us in our packet. I'll entertain a motion to receive for the purpose of discussion.
So motion.
Second.
In a second. Floor is open for discussion. Comment? Questions?
In 2023, can we keep folks here so it doesn't get so cold at the end of the meeting? Like, good Lord.
Anything else besides that?
Sorry.
Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, in executive session, we do have some contractual matters to discuss. I will need someone to request that we move to executive session, please.
Mr. Mayor, I request that we move to executive session, and I make a motion to enter into executive session to update council on contractual matters pertaining to Project Titus, Project Keystone, Project Lineout, and Project Slapshot as allowed by state statute, Section 30-4-70A2.
Comes as a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we've concluded our regular meeting and stand in executive session. Is it? Council, in executive session, we have considered contractual matters related to Project Titus, Project Keystone, Project Lineout, Project Slapshot, all allowed by state statute section 30-4-70A2. Information was gathered, no action was taken nor expected as we come out of executive session. This was for information only at this point. I'll entertain a motion that we come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Stand adjourned.